so, how is that bridge, where does that bridge happen between that clearness of just sitting and
all the chaos out there? It's tough. I mean, sitting, it's so easy to see a clear wall. You just look at a white wall and it's totally clear. And just as our thoughts become more and more quiescent and we become more clear, it's easy to see the subtlest little changes, okay? But in a chaotic environment, in a pushing, pulling situation with a whole group of people, then, in that chaos, how do we relate? How do we maintain the clarity? I just think that we have it, our whole practice is built around going from, in a big circle, from clear sitting to a very kind of a structured sort of walking break, okay? Where we just kind of do we watch our steps. It's a little bit more complicated, a little bit more, more involved. And then we'll do a service where, it's still structured, but we're still kind of going, it's more complex. Okay, there's a lot more stuff going on while still structured. Okay, and then we actually go out and face the world. Even better, I think, is the work that Diane does, where we have this pushing, pulling situation, but structured and monitored. So we can actually see, and then our behavior where it kind of becomes, how could I say, when it's sticking out like a sore thumb. When one of our trips, one of our neuroses is actually becoming problematic, it becomes very visible under the circumstances. And then we're forced to deal with it, okay? And that is how is what I was trying to say, is how we can go from the clarity of on the cushion to being able to deal more clearly with the more chaotic world that we live in all the time. I was blown away when I came back from Holland. I've said it over and over again. All I did in Holland was zazen, smoke cigarettes and look at the green countryside. And there's just nothing there. The windmill, there's a steeple, another windmill, and you smoke cigarettes and you look at it. And it's very, very quiet out there in the middle of nowhere in Holland. And that was my practice. I was just training and training and training there with Tenkei Roshi. And I came back here, and there was just, with Genpo Roshi, there was just a million things going on. It was totally chaotic. It was really uncomfortable. I really had a tough time with it. I'm happy with it now, but coming back, it was extremely difficult. For about the same amount of time that I was there, that amount of time when I came back it was just torture being here. Just because there was so much going on. And I couldn't relate. Because there was no way of, I didn't seem to have a way of bridging that gap. So bridging the gap, I think, is a very helpful way of going. And there's the way that Diane talks about, and then I'm sure there's millions of other ways of bridging it. But I think it does need to be, we need to bring out that clarity of emptiness from the cushion into our everyday life. So.
Because I was there in the room with you during Amaland, being a pompous purple person. What was so interesting was that because we were all purple people, like this Ivana, we were just scared and rigid, weren't we?
Well, Roshi stirred it up. He saw that it was happening, and then he decided to actually raise the ante, so he made it much worse. Yeah. And then he goes, I want you to do this, and we're going to do something horrible to each other, And we're all like, oh fuck no, we don't want to touch that. And and he just brought that up, and we had to work with it for the whole week. It was kind of interesting.
So I was wondering if you'd like to talk a bit about the kind of bridging we did, because I also found it really helpful. It might be helpful to people to describe some of the groups we did and what
well,
kind of work.
We led up to this. Okay, so for example, Diane had us do what would you call it, 3, 2, 1? I don't quite understand, but we would relate to someone that is problematic for us, someone who we have allergic reaction to. We simply don't like them. We think they're an ass, okay? And every time that we see them, we just kind of like, oh God, okay? So what she had us do was actually write a paragraph of me just unloading on them what I hate about them, okay? Why they're such a problem, why they should just, disappear or something, okay? The second one was hold on, how did that work? Was it just a dialogue at that point, or? Yeah, it was that person, it was a dialogue, so I would dump on them and they would dump back, okay, and they would defend themselves and say, well, that's not really such a bad behavior. Actually, I think it's a good idea to be this way. Say a brown noser, say a control freak, say some sort of, you know, behavior that's unacceptable, and say, well, as a control freak, I'm actually making sure the place doesn't fall apart. Okay, so it would be a dialogue like that. So I would write what I don't like, and they'd be able to defend themselves. And then the third one is them actually talking about me, describing how they are really great and how I really suck. Okay, and then I was able to see, it's like, oh, okay, oh, you know, and I thought it was extremely helpful that way. I was able to break one of my very strong opinions I had about certain types of behavior. Personally, in my case, it was about brown nosing. Okay, I couldn't stand it. Okay, and anyone that I saw functioning as a brown noser, well, they really made me ill. And I had a completely solid and unquestioned opinion on that. So that really kind of, it actually shattered it, to tell you the truth. You know, so I thought it was very interesting.
I like that when the sentence completion one around the family. Do you remember that?
No.
Lucide one, where we're in groups of 5.
I don't remember.
In the sentence
Something I remember vaguely, you know. But suffice it, be that as it may, I mean, it was all of these exercises where we were able to bring out aspects of ourselves that maybe are in the shadow. I'm not going to look at my shadow issues while I'm sitting. While I'm sitting, my job, I generally take it to be, is to bliss out. And I'm just not going to deal with any of this nastiness. It's just going to sit there and just do whatever it is it does. Okay? But working with these sentence completions and stuff like that, and the 3, 2, 1, I was able to see how the shadow side has been there for quite some time. And once you shine the light on it, once you turn the light on in New York, you know that you have cockroaches. Then you have to actually clean them up somehow. But if you don't ever turn the light on, yeah.
I don't know if this is quite a question or not, but I was intrigued about, you were talking about, the process of not knowing. If you're sitting in the Zendo and hearing a car go by, and, which is just sort of the raw data coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a naming process, the
Mhm.
car, and then it's sort of like the judgment happens of,
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe or I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And are we kind of fighting, really, or trying to go against a sort of a survival mechanism that's important?
I think so.
And so how, and it's just hearing the raw data, obviously you can't go around all day that way.
Right.
So this is something you just want to do on break.
The survival mechanism is great. It keeps us alive. We can have kids. We can raise them. We can keep our kids alive. Okay, but we're just going to be neurotic.